December version, Gold and Black Live. We always have our A game on, but we have our A person here in Mike Bobinski, Purdue's second and a half year athletic director. Hard to believe how fast it's gone. And welcome to the show, Matt Stevens, obviously from our staff as well. Has it gone as fast? I mean, you know, you've had really an interest. I mean, just with everything that's gone on, a ton of interesting things. I guess that's easy for me to say, interesting things that have gone on over that period of time.
It's hard to believe that it's almost 2.5 years for me. It's like it's on fast forward, and that's kind of the nature of this business. You know, you kind of once a year starts, you don't come up for air until it's over, and these days it almost is never over. You know, it just sort of keeps on going. But it's been a great 2.5 years. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I think we've been able to make some progress here and there. But the process has been fun, and I think there's miles to travel yet. But I've really enjoyed it, and I truly can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, we took some questions on our message boards, of which we have many, and they're all pretty dialed in well. And we didn't have to. I told Mike there were a couple in there that were a little offbeat, but not really too many. But in this segment, we're going to focus mostly on football when we have Matt here as well. But I wanted. Everybody wants to talk facilities. This is an engineering university, a construction-based university. When you put that up at any point in time, there are experts that think that you can do things. But tell us about, there's been a lot of talk about South End Zone and the entire stadium project, and you really want to. Sounds like you want to combine them all together when it's time to make that announcement of what you're going to do.
Sure, and that alone we could be here until midnight tonight talking about that whole package of things. At a very baseline level, Alan, I would tell you that I think it's important that we continue to make progress, that we continue to do things in support of our overall athletic program, and in this case particularly our football program, so that we don't put ourselves in a deficit situation. Then you have to play catch up, and it becomes more and more difficult to get yourself to where you need to be. So for us, it's about finding ways to continue to make progress. So that's sort of statement one. The other piece of it, or another reality, is that if in fact we're going to consider, which we are, major work in and around Ross-Ade Stadium, obviously it's going to be something that's going to be in place for years and years and years and years. It's going to require a significant economic investment or financial commitment, but it's got to be really well thought out. We don't want to get it wrong at this point in time. If you swing and miss, I mean, it's a miss for the next 50 years, and none of us want that to be the case here. So making sure that we work through it in a systematic way, in a thoughtful way, and that we get the very best concept and design, and we include all the elements that we feel need to be included, is really important. That's what we're working on right now. We've got multiple people engaged with us as we speak here towards that end. We've got a consultant that we've hired, or a consulting group, really professional sports based, high level experience, but that are moving into the college space, and I think will really bring a different look and perspective to a sort of a market study. And that market study will look at all the different elements that we want to sort of touch from a fan and competitive experience perspective, and then use the results of what they come up with to help drive our design. Instead of designing something first and then saying, hey, let's go out and see what we can sell, we're going to try and get this in a more logical fashion and say, let's try and do the very best work we can to figure out how we can build the most creative, innovative, fan-friendly, competitive-friendly, revenue-friendly stadium that we can. That's maybe not like everybody else has in college. Maybe it'll be a little different. Maybe the elements will be, taking some thoughts from Major League Baseball, because they've done some creative things in their stadiums around the country. Major League Soccer has done some creative things. So we're going to try and get the very best thinking we can around this study, and again, then feed that into the design process as we work through this. As you mentioned, it's not just everybody everywhere I go. It's South End Zone. I mean, I wish we could eliminate that phrase from the vocabulary at this point in time, because it's not just the South End Zone. As you look at Ross-Ade, there's several things that are going to be emergent and need attention. There are some just structural realities. The above the vomitory, around the bowl, is all
an issue,
is all supported by structural steel.
Yeah.
Lots of which is exposed to the elements, and that requires significant maintenance, upkeep, period, on a periodic basis, and that maintenance and upkeep is in the $10 to $15 million range every time you do it, and we're not that far away from that date coming.
Yeah.
So the question that our facilities folks on campus pose to us, does it make sense to spend that kind of money just sort of returning things to their current state?
Yeah.
Or is there a smarter and better way for the long term to look at how we deal with the upper bowl of Ross-Ade Stadium? So that's part of all this. You know, is there something that we could do differently with the upper bowl where you almost peel off that upper half, then come back in and cantilever it with probably precast concrete as opposed to structural steel, and just in eliminating that maintenance need, or at least that big maintenance need as you go forward. And you never eliminate all maintenance needs. It'll still need to be waterproofed. It'll need to be painted. Things will need to happen, but it won't be as significant as if we just sort of stay the course with the structural steel that's in there. So we're thinking about that. And if you go to that level of thinking, then it's like, okay, do we have just sort of the same bowl look that we have right now in the upper level, or do we do something different? Do we try in the corners to create some more sort of modern stadium style, more social space?
Yeah,
common
fan
space?
experience space,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, but obviously we're looking at much better concession opportunities,
Yeah.
much better access to food and beverage. You know, yes, there is a thought to trying to find a way, particularly if you do a new seating area, to make the seats more fan-friendly and more comfortable and more reflective of the way our society looks. And I you can count me in that group. The seat doesn't fit me like it used to fit me either. And so we get that, and then we actually talked to the architects about doing that around the entire stadium, sort of renumbering the seats. Now, again, there's a trade-off. We don't want to limit. Capacity needs to be at a certain level
Gotta
for us
make
to
the
make
money,
sense here. Yeah, it's got to all work economically, and that is not an insignificant challenge. But I know from our team side, we're really excited about the process of working through all this, of coming up with what we hope will be a really compelling design and solution that'll touch all those bases, and then ultimately, then comes the economic reality.
Yeah.
How do you pay for it? You know, you've got, and it's not going to be insignificant. It's going to be a very significant investment that you know, we're going to have to raise lots of money to make that work, and we're prepared to go out and make that happen.
Timetable, though, next year and a half, you don't know,
Well,
don't want to be pigeonholed to that, I'm
well,
sure. but-
design-wise, you know, we have given the different teams that are working with us sort of a beginning of summer of 19 timeframe for where we'd like to bring the design to a conclusion and at least feel like, okay, we've got a concept that we feel really comfortable about. It meets everybody's needs. It's modern. It's progressive. It's all those things. You know, and then really set about the serious fundraising steps from there. And then depending on how that goes, really has a lot to do with what the actual timeline might be.
We've talked about the consultant group, and
Yeah.
it's Populous out of Kansas City, is that correct?
Populous is the architects, and
Right.
then Elevate is the actual group
Okay.
that's doing the market study, and they've got some of the most successful sports professionals
Right.
in the country that are part of their organization. It's the president of the San Francisco 49ers, it's Tim Lewicki, used to be the president of AEG. It's high level folks that really understand the sports marketplace at a different level than sort of your regular college consultants. These guys, I think, will bring a different type of thinking to our situation, which we want to do. We don't want to be the same. We want to be a little creative and a little progressive.
How much feedback are you getting back from them on when you do a renovation to Ross-Ade that it looks like it belongs on Purdue's campus, and it looks like it's connected to the building you just built, the
Sure.
football facility,
Sure.
and quite honestly, you know, some old school kind of feel
Yep.
with Mackey Arena. And I know that
Yep.
other schools that have worked with them have asked them, make this look like it belongs on our campus and
Yep.
not like how an alien dropped it down on
Yeah.
West Lafayette, Indiana.
And I think, you know, with the amount of work that Populous has done on our campus, once the Elevate folks are done with their piece of the work, I think Populous will take that, and that's sort of their going in position is, hey, we don't want to put something out there that people look and say, what in the world happened? You know,
Right.
how'd that get here? So I think that will absolutely be part of it. It wants to blend into the rest of the stadium in a cohesive way, but also be modern looking. You know,
Sure.
it needs to be something that's compelling and appealing on all fronts.
You know, when you, patience and being able to work your way to helping Jeff Brom make his decision. Jeff Brom had to make his decision to do what he did, and well, that's been well documented. But you talk about what he expects to get to that top 15 program level. Is stadium, I mean, what things do you look at and say, hey, we may not have this, or we can't, is there everything that you think you got to get to a top 15 program? Can you get at Purdue, in your view?
Well, I would tell you this. I think the thoughts that Jeff and I share on that front are that, as I said at the very beginning, continuing to make progress, to show signs of continued investment and improvement and change around our program is what he's most interested in. He doesn't get into the details of it and nuts and bolts of it. Now, other members of the football operation sit in on every meeting we have, so they're fully plugged into what we're doing, so that we're representing their needs and thoughts are represented. But Jeff's really fundamental when it comes to this stuff. He's like, hey, I definitely I want the program to feel like it's moving ahead. I want us to continue to show those signs of progress. That helps us in every way. But he does not feel, as we sit here today, that there's any of those current conditions that are holding him back. I mean, that hasn't cost us a single recruit, and it just hasn't. Now, I think again, as you compete at the higher and higher levels, you need to be in the game, and so that'll get more intense and more of a need as we move forward. But right now, that's not primary in his mind at all.
If and when you ever sit down with Jeff to do an end of the year evaluation, when that happens, what are your thoughts on what this narrative was for the 2018 season, which was build on the momentum that you got after the bowl win, and then how do you feel like you guys did that this year, and how do you feel like that can translate into a 2019 season that I think we all know is going to have some big expectations?
Well, here's how I feel about it. Obviously, the year didn't start the way we wanted it to.
Not at all.
For lots of reasons, we were short three times in a row. 2 walk-off losses, which is unheard of. To have played 3 games like that this year.
Never happened here. That's right.
Well, actually, we played 3 or 4. Well, we played 4 actually.
Right.
We played 4, and we only won one of them. So we were 1-3 in those last possession kind of games. To have bounced back from that, I think was a really, really strong statement about what's being built and who we are and what we're doing, and the resolve of not only our coaches but certainly our players and their ability to stay with it and not be sort of, oh my gosh, here we go again. And that was never a vibe that I got. It was never anything that I felt or saw around practice. And I think the fact that we were able to finished 6-3, and if we'd started the year 6-3, we'd have felt like we were hitting a home run.
Right.
And so it's everything's relative here, but that being said, I feel like we absolutely have sustained momentum, having the remarkable performance by Rondale Moore and all the accolades that have come his way has provided additional fuel and momentum, and Jeff's own situation has all of it has kept our program and Tyler
Tyler
Trent and his circumstance have kept our program in a much more top of mind position than we had been in for years. So I don't think we've missed a beat as far as that's concerned. Would we like to have won 9 or 10 or 11 games? Hell yes, we would have. But absent that, I think lots of really good things happened that have positioned us to hopefully have a great recruiting class sign in the early and late periods if necessary, and just layer in another really talented group of players that I think continues us in a positive direction.
All right, one of my favorite questions, because you've had, obviously as an athletic director, but you've actually had specific experience too at Xavier in fundraising. Is there a formula, or what athletics and its impact on donations? How do you, when you're sitting in Mitch Daniels' office or with the development folks, and you say this means that? Is there any rule of thumb out there, and how much has it impacted here in the last couple of years with Jeff Brom being here?
Well, I would say this. I'm not sure anybody has a specific sort of
multiplier,
ratio or equation that works. But one thing that I would tell you that every one of our development folks on campus would say is that the calls get returned a lot quicker, the invitations are accepted a lot more frequently, the vibe is better, people feel better when your flagship programs are performing at a high level. I've had multiple development officers from the different colleges around campus say, my gosh, thank you, you've made our jobs a whole lot easier to do, just a lot more, again, it just works a lot better. The deans have said that to me, that, boy, thank you for providing us something that adds another element to the Purdue experience that they're presenting to their constituents. So there's no question it's a positive thing. There's no question the last 2 years have stepped us up in that area, and I think we had a record fundraising year last year at Purdue. So and we take zero credit for that, but I would tell you that somewhere in there, I think we what happened in football may have helped some of those things get done maybe in a more efficient and timely way.
Did you get any congratulations when Jeff decided to stay at Purdue? Because you did on our boards.
Well,
I know that much. But
people have been very gracious to me, and I don't deserve anything, but I'm just grateful that it worked out. I'm grateful for the support from President Daniels and our board in helping us, helping me and us make that happen. So yeah, that's my job, is to do that to the very best of my ability.
Well, a couple of weeks ago in your interview with Matt on our site, I find it really interesting. I'm always interested in process and decision making and how, you got to stay cool in the pocket, so to speak. You got to let a guy make a decision and do it. Is that your personality? Is that where have you had to kind of train yourself over the years to say, I don't need to jump into everything. I got to let it go, even though this is as big a deal as you're may ever have here, is keeping Jeff Brom here.
It's not my personality at all. I can tell you that. So it's a learned behavior, and one that I think situationally you have to have a feel for what the dynamics are in any given situation. And in this case, everybody knew that if and whenever the Louisville job opened, that it was going to be a thing. That it was going to present a circumstance for us that was going to be different. And I recognized that. Jeff recognized. He and I talked about it the day after they made the announcement that they weren't going to retain.
So there was no elephant in the room. You guys just talked.
We just talked about it. We just talked about it and said, okay, it's on. We're going to be in it now.
Yeah.
And so we had a very, I think, what I would have didn't surprise me at all. A very clear and honest understanding of where things were and how it was going to go. We stayed in touch with each other throughout. We did our business like we always do. Nothing changed as far as that was concerned, and that was sort of there in the background, but it wasn't front and center until it needed to be those last couple of days where it was the issue. But it was clear to me that we needed to not try to paint Jeff into a corner on this one, because it was unique. I mean, we're all from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Brom family in Louisville, I mean, I'm from somewhere too.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that somewhere is a great place, and I love it, and I'm thankful I grew up there. But it's not the same. It's not that depth and that level of relationship and all. I mean, it was unique, and I think to act like it was otherwise would have been a miss on our part.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was just Timbuktu U, I might have handled it a little differently. But it wasn't. It was home. It was family. It was the place where his name's on the Ring of Honor, all those things. And so you just needed to be respectful of that and stay close, but not suffocate and not force the issue before it needed to be, before the question needed to be called.
Yeah.
And I think what we discussed about earlier, prior, was, this wasn't a bidding war. And I know that you've said to me things are going to happen with Jeff's contract that they're going to be announced, but this wasn't a Purdue versus Louisville bidding war, and you're not going to see something in that new contract that says, "Wow, Purdue came to the table with, a boatload of cash." It's that Purdue is rewarding its coach for another successful season. Is more or less what's happening, and what normally happens in an off season.
Yeah, and without going too deep into something that that's not yet fully baked,
Exactly.
Our position was to try to the best of our ability, and not knowing fully what's happening on the other side, to try and neutralize the economics of this. We didn't want that to be a decision point unfavorably to us. So if we felt like Louisville was going to be here, we wanted to be every bit of. We wanted to be there. We weren't going to miss on that front. There was too much riding on it from our perspective.
All right. Well, we will let Mike come up for air. He's a long distance runner, which is a good thing here, at least from this standpoint. We'll take a 2-minute break, bring in Brian Newbert. We'll talk a little basketball, a little recruiting, maybe also some big picture stuff on NCAA violations, those kinds of things, and how you deal with all that. We'll deal with that in a couple minutes on Gold and Black Live.